When it comes to small business, everything is personal. Welcome to the Making Business Personal podcast, presented by Collective Alternative. Join me, Levi Trageser, each month as I sit down with marketing professionals and small business leaders to discuss common challenges small businesses are facing with their marketing and share strategic solutions and tactics you can implement to enhance your presence and make your brand stand out among the rest. Let's get personal. Welcome back to the Making Business Personal podcast. I'm your host, Levi, and today with me I have Kristen, one of our very own, and also Alan. Thanks for joining us today, Alan.
Thanks for having me. This will be exciting.
Yeah, this is going to be super exciting. Today we're talking about website innovations, all things websites, and kind of hitting on your experience, Alan, with, your new edition of your new website and some of the features of that. So we'll just jump right in here. And first, for Kristen, websites have now been around for a while, and there's been a lot of advancements with websites. So what have you kind of seen, and why is it maybe more important now than ever for a small business or a startup business, not just to have a working website, but to have a robust website and one that really hits their messaging and those sorts of things?
I think the consumer today, when they're looking at a service or a restaurant, anything really, the first thing you're doing is picking up your phone and Googling it. And so if you don't have a website or a web presence in general, you're not gonna even make the list of potentials. So number one, it's just getting your information out there, showing that you're credible, especially, after all the hits that small businesses in particular took from COVID, just showing people that you're still there and you're still standing and open. There are three common purposes of having a website, and that's awareness, sales, lead generation, and information gathering. So depending on what your needs are, you can kind of tailor the content of your website to that. But number one, you want to be out there when people are looking.
And you mentioned a piece that we'll just kind of not dive super deep into, but being noticed and being seen. You want to kind of just touch on that process and what that looks like. How would a business get themselves to be visible? Because if you make a website, it doesn't always mean that you're visible to everybody.
Right. There's a lot of different facets when it comes to building a website. And one of those, when you're talking about that search piece of it being found, is that search engine optimization, SEO. So you want to make sure that when you're thinking about the content for your website, you're looking consumer first. What are they going to be searching for? Making sure that information is available on your website. It's great to have that piece out there, but if nobody ever sees it, they can't find it. What good is it really doing you? There's got to be some strategy behind that to make sure that you're positioning yourself in the best light and getting your name out there.
Absolutely. So Alan, you are a small business owner. When did you first have your first website? When did it launch?
That's a hilarious story. I was thinking about that this morning. Going back to the very first iterations of our website, you had blinking text, you had grainy pictures, and it was it's when I heard your question to Kristen, I thought, oh my, going back to those first websites, I mean, just to put your phone number out there was like, oh my gosh, people all over the world are going to find us now. And it is surprising how many sites are still kind of old. So it's important to keep that fresh because the technology out there, is, especially for a small business owner, we don't know what's out there. Mm-hmm. So staying open to keeping things fresh and expecting maybe every other year you should be looking really hard at what you've got.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is a shift. You mentioned, back in the day, having your website out or your phone number out there was a big deal. Well, it was because not everybody was out there. But now you've got so much more competition. Things are easier to come by. So you're just fighting harder and harder every day, it seems like, to get your, ranking.
Yeah, and for a small business, you're working with a tighter budget maybe than those bigger brands and those, bigger companies. So what are some of the ways that a small business can kind of approach building their website to kind of navigate and kind of fight against not having maybe the budget of some of those bigger places?
I think it's narrowing down your audience, knowing who you're talking to and what they're looking for. Messaging is going to be huge in that regard. And just knowing, kind of knowing your lane and sticking to it and really optimizing a smaller area rather than trying to cover the whole playing field. Because, sure, there are companies out there that do just dominate the marketplace, but their budgets are also enormous. So it's, really narrowing down who you're talking to and trying to make the most bang for your buck in that regard.
There's two aspects when it comes to your website. There's the generating of the actual content, and in that respect, what is it worth from a cost standpoint to maximize your opportunity when you've got those eyes? So that's budget number one. Budget number two, how are you going to drive people to your site? What are you willing to spend and risk, no return, or there's a balancing act, and it's all based on budget, but the two of them need to be separated.
Yeah. Well, and you speak about budget and those sorts of things in shifting. As a small business owner, you want to dive into the shifting and flexibility that you've had to have with your website, not just, right now with a new website, but always, in trying to get out in front of everybody.
I think this is going to be a very short and generic answer. You are always needing to be fluid in that mind frame, because if you're, typically you would think of an older generation to be pretty much locked into their habits. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. Everything is moving. Everything is in constant change. So it's first off probably having the ability to recognize that and having the willingness to understand that you don't have all the answers. So staying in a routine that is what you did previously is not going to be healthy in terms of continual, you know what I mean? Back when Google Ads became a thing, because, we're my generation, I was born in the late 70s. Like we saw the arrival of crappy websites. We saw the arrival of Google and Google Ads and what it took to be at the top. But now you've got SEO, and now you've got display ads, and now you've got just the possibilities are endless. And to kind of echo what I had said previously, you need to be flexible. Sometimes the information you're not going to like to hear. And the big businesses, big boxes, big online stores, their budgets are huge. You will never compete with that. And I think one of the things that our smaller businesses need to keep at the heart of their journey is you need to know who you are. You need to know who your audience is, and you need to know more now than ever what is the message that you're trying to convey. When you've got that minute of site time for somebody that just happened, your ad worked, they've clicked on you, they're looking at your site, you've got 10 seconds. If you get them beyond 10 seconds, but that information has to be specific. We can't be grandiose and thinking that they're going to want to see the thing that I think they're going to want to see. You need to keep that vision fluid.
So how do you separate between mentioning what you want to see and what really needs to be out there? How did you kind of come to grips with that, and did you ever struggle with that at any point as a small business owner?
I've struggled with that a lot because, and this is something that as I get older I'm learning, you don't know what you don't know. And being able to just accept that and then be able to lean on people, your teammates, be it CA or internal employees that have earned that trust. I don't have all the answers. So looking to those folks for inspiration or for guidance or for, just silent observation of what's going on, what are their thoughts on things is becoming more and more crucial because we don't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to dial back a little bit to what I mentioned earlier. And we have redone your website. So first I'll go to Kristen. what did that when did that come about? When did you say, we really need to look at this site? When does that process start, and how did it look in this particular case?
I think for a typical website, when you reach kind of that 2 to 3 year mark, it's time to start thinking about what updates need to be made. Looking at your messaging again, looking at the graphics. Is this a true picture of what you want people to absorb as your brand? So are you putting yourself out there the way that you think you are, that you want to be? But then I think that, it was kind of a joint decision with Alan's website in particular. Maybe those needs have shifted. Customers are shopping differently. There's some new competition entering the marketplace. So what do we need to do to stay in front of that? So then it was looking at not only just the overall look and appearance, giving it a updated, fresh look, but what can we do to make this process easier for people? Let's, put some more information out there to help guide them through the purchase process. Let's give them another way to buy. So rather than making them come into a physical store, let's give them the opportunity to purchase online, or, even just shop online to see what's out there. So it's really putting the customer at the forefront, and looking at things through their eyes,
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that shopping aspect. Let's kind of dive into that Matterport project that we put on there.
So one of the great things about what Alan offers is this incredible showroom that is very unique for his industry of mobility products. And a lot of people maybe can't make it to the showroom. They want to be there, but it's just not convenient for them, or it's a little further than they want to travel. So with the Matterport's an interactive tour of that showroom, so they could get on the website and shop around, kind of do that virtual tour, look at whatever they want to look at, zoom in, zoom out, click on things, and really learn about each product without ever having to step foot in to the showroom. But it also gives a really great visual of what that showroom looks like. So I think it's even more inviting to say, hey, here's a little taste of what you'll get when you come in. And I think we'll even help encourage people to come into the showroom even more so than just, saying we've got a showroom.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you kind of want to expand on that, Alan, and what you've seen on your end with the new website and the Matterport?
I remember the first time I saw a virtual tour. It was actually looking for houses. And I thought, it was actually when we were selling my grandmother's house, being able to, get to the point where, okay, oh my gosh, now I'm in this home. And I'm able to walk around, and I'm able to look around this corner and look what things, what is the feel of this home. And when it became apparent that that technology could be implemented onto our store, because honest to goodness, our high card, or one of our intangibles where we are currently located, is our physical location. It's huge. It is a complete, it doesn't need to be that big, but it is. So we packed it with all kinds of helpful stuff so the folks can come in and try it. What was really bizarre to me, because you never know how people are going to receive these ideas. Mm-hmm. So after we launched the new site, the feature of this site is the Matterport. Right when you click on the home page, boom, it's right there front and center, take a tour. And all it takes is one click on that mouse and their screen view changes like they just walked in through the front door. That expands their mind into like, oh my gosh, now I'm into something that's going to really be, I didn't expect this. So what happened after we launched the site, within a couple weeks we had customers walking in the door and walking straight down the hall and going into the vicinity of where they knew that thing they needed was. So what we were used to seeing would be folks would come in and the first thing they would say is, oh my gosh, I had no idea you had so much stuff. And then we'd have to show them around, and then, or someone would walk in and say, oh, I had no idea your store was so big. Now what we have is almost like, someone walks right through the door and it's almost like a supermarket sweep where they're just gone. They are beelining it right to the area where they saw what it is that they need. And having that as a tool that doesn't necessarily take a salesperson to communicate has been invaluable. I'm excited to see what the next version of this kind of technology is, because it won't stop here. There's going to be something new in that same vein that's going to be just as exciting.
Yeah, and I think the Matterport, it's so, like you said, they're able to see that beforehand, and a lot of it is path of least resistance with that customer. They want it easy, simple, and if you're easier and simpler than your competitor, that gives you that competitive advantage, I think, in that realm where they can, if they don't know what kind of product they want or really what color scooters maybe, they can get in there and really see it firsthand without seeing the dolled up picture that you would see on a box store website. And I think that kind of gives you a competitive advantage that, is different maybe than your competitors. So you've seen some great benefit in the addition of the new website and the Matterport. So what are some of the must-haves, important things maybe when developing a new website that you saw with us?
So the must-haves for me were going to be much different than the must-haves as far as the vision and the message within the website. My must-haves would revolve more around the analytics. I'm a numbers person. I like to see, factual things. I like to see behavioral things, and that's exactly what analytics is built for. Where did the customer come from? What did they look at? What did they click on? When did they leave? Our previous website, before we linked up with CA, was actually hosted by a different company, which at the time we signed on was great, but we soon learned that some of the things, especially for me, that were missing. There were pieces that I didn't know we wouldn't have that we didn't have. And actually, a little fun fact: tomorrow marks the end of the contract that we had with that company. We're still on paper, we're still partners, but that expires tomorrow. So even though we have the new site, we're still connected with them, at least for a few more hours. So one of the headaches that I experienced with them was the inability to do a good job of tracking behavior. There was an online store that was separate from our primary domain. Rather than beginning with accessmobility.com, those domains, once they clicked on the store, would be store.accessmobility.com, which meant that we couldn't drop our Google tracking code on our site. So when folks would click on that, which we wanted them to, they basically fell off the face of the earth. And we wouldn't know what they looked at, how long they looked at it, where'd they go from there when they left the site we knew they were on. And that was a big disconnect that having this new website absolutely gives us. We're able to see that behavior. Other must-haves, a big thing for me again was learning from experience, to have someone, which would be Kristen, to be able to talk to be able to work with, bounce ideas off of, was a huge success. With the other web company, I got phone calls, I had several emails, but it was very impersonal. I felt like I was in a machine that was going to produce something of great importance to our business, but we didn't have much control over it. So having the personal contact was huge.
Mm-hmm. With that partnership with CA, when did you really know that was going to be different? And what were some of the signs that this partnership was going to be one where you had that personal connection and that go-to team that truly knew how you felt and what your must-haves were? When did you kind of know that, and what's that experience been like for you?
So the construction of this website that we're on now actually is kind of a reflection of that. I know Kristen will recall, CA built us a website fully complete, ready to go, that never saw the light of day. Come to find out, the problem was me, because I was in the way in terms of there was something about it that I just couldn't get past, or I couldn't just let go live, which actually wound up being a good thing because that's what brought us to being partners with the Matterport and actually creating an online store, which was a product of the pandemic. That wasn't really part of it initially, but it pushed it into the forefront of something that we needed to have. But it's almost like this would be advice for a small business owner. A small business owner that is wanting to create a new website. For me, again, to kind of go back to you don't know what you don't know. As I get older, those sayings are resonating more strongly with me. And as it relates to the website, I didn't have all the answers, but I did have a vision. And what I did with this website was unlike what I had done in the past, referencing the site that never saw the light of day. I communicated the vision to CA, to Kristen. I involved a team of my own employees to help collaborate. We brainstormed over several weeks, and then I stepped away. I would peek in every so often, but I left the heavy lifting and the creating of content, the building of the online store, into the hands of people that I trust. And as a business owner, I think that's something that's hard for us to do because our website is us. But again, I don't know what I don't know. And it's not necessary for me to stand in the way of other people's good visions. And, everybody wants to do a good job. I don't have to have all the answers. So being able to have someone that I trusted inside CA, and then also the teammates that were working on this within my business, stepping away was probably the biggest piece of advice that it's okay to do that. You just create your vision, communicate your vision, and then watch.
And from your side, Kristen, how does CA different maybe than other firms and other agencies? And we focus on that customer relationship, and that's a big part of who we are. So how do you think we navigate that in kind of building that trust that a business owner can truly step away from what is them because we've gathered that information and we know them and from our meetings and that sort of thing?
I think there's so much power in a collaborative mindset, and you've got two sides of the coin there with that partnership. You've got someone that really knows the industry and obviously knows their business, and then you've got someone that knows the marketing side and kind of that consumer side. So putting those two pieces together, I think, is really that magic ticket there. I love that Alan wants to express his vision and give us all of those inside pieces that sure, we could do all the research in the world, but he's got such a unique perspective being in his position, having all of that experience, talking to those customers every day that we don't get. So I think it's really important to have both sides of that coin rather than just, I want a new website here, take it, bring it back to me, and it kind of does what it needs to do, but it's not truly you.
Right, and it kind of goes back to what Alan said. You don't know what you don't know, and when you're building a website, just as much as they don't know the building of the website side of things, we may not know what they know about their industry and their pain points and what their company was built off of, those morals, those values, and those standards. So I think it's kind of twofold in the way that he puts that trust in us, we put that trust right back, and we listen, take in that information because we understand that we don't know what we don't know. And so, we need those monthly meetings and that interaction to understand where their pain points are. So that way we're able to kind of, reflect that in their website and build one that really reflects them. And I hope, Alan, that this website's been one that really you feel like reflects you and your business.
I'm extremely proud of that site. It is the culmination of many things, and they were all good experiences. And to see customers react to that is really just a validation of feeling that. I think as business owners, there's a part of us that are just wanting to be proud because that's our kid. Like this is something that I've helped to create. I'm third generation, so this was not something that I built from the ground up. I've been with the business for over 22 years, but along that time, bumping my tail along and learning through failure brought me here. And to have this website built in the way that it was, that didn't have a whole lot to do with me directly, has been very rewarding.
Well, awesome. Thank you again, Alan. Thank you again, Kristen, for joining today. Hopefully, small business owners out there were able to take some pieces away from today. A lot of good conversation, and we really appreciate it. So you can catch us on our next podcast next month, the Making Business Personal podcast. And until then, have a great day. Thanks for listening to the Making Business Personal podcast. Do you have a marketing question for our team? Want to hear more about a topic? Let's get personal. Connect with us, submit your questions, and share any feedback at collectivealternative.com. And don't forget to subscribe so that way you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.